So you guys might notice things look a little bit different right now than usual, and that's because I'm filming at night, which I don't usually do. I actually filmed this entire video yesterday morning, and then I went to start editing it just now, and I realized that I couldn't work with the footage that I had. I can't really explain this. I don't know what's been going on. I have been to the doctor. Today is Tuesday. Since Saturday, I have had a fever, but I'm not sick. Like, I don't have a cold, I don't have the flu, I feel totally fine, but I've had a fever of over 102 for the last 5 days? 4 days? The last 4 days. And so anyways, I know this is a video about looking poor, but I filmed this video yesterday and I didn't just look poor, I looked like I was dying. I was so red and so sweaty looking, I was just burning up. So we're starting fresh, we're starting again. With that said, I'm gonna end that story time with an actually more relevant to this video story time, which is about when I was growing up. When I was growing up, we were very poor. I was never homeless, I don't want to make it sound worse than it was, but I was raised by a single mom who had to hustle very hard to keep food on the table. And there was never really money for anything beyond just the basic necessities. Now, as you can imagine, there are a lot of downsides that come from growing up in that environment. Obviously, nobody really wants to be poor, but one of the positives that unexpectedly came out of that entire situation for me was that I learned at a very early age how to really understand the value of money. I learned how to prioritize and to understand what is and isn't important in life. And because of all of that, despite the fact that a lot has changed in the time since, and I'm older and I'm making more money and things are generally better than they were back then, my perspective on money hasn't really changed very much at all. I think it's fair to say that most people want to be rich.
I want to be rich!
Or at least they think they do. But in actuality, I don't think people know what it really looks like to be rich. When people say they want to be rich, they think about having a huge house with a backyard swimming pool, about driving expensive exotic cars, about having an unlimited budget to go out traveling and eating at fancy restaurants and all of that kind of stuff. They basically want an Instagram-worthy lifestyle. But in truth, that's not what being rich looks like at all. In fact, trying to look rich like that is probably the absolute worst thing you can do if you actually want to be rich. Looking around today, you would think that basically everybody has money. Like, even in my average working class neighborhood, never before have I seen so many Teslas and BMWs and Mercedes-Benz driving around, and I really just don't know where they've all come from. When a new iPhone drops, everybody goes and stands in line for hours to be one of the first to get their hands on it, and don't even get me started with those $60 trendy water bottles. I don't know, man, maybe I'm getting old. I don't feel old, except for when I see that kind of thing, and I'm like, why? Like, what the hell? It's a water bottle. I don't know, I'm probably missing something, but I don't think I'm actually missing anything. Anyways. But the interesting thing is that despite all of this show of what appears to be wealth, a recent survey suggests that 78% of Americans and 47% of Canadians are living paycheck to paycheck. And how is that possible? How can people be living paycheck to paycheck while living these extravagant lives and owning all of these expensive things? Well, the answer, as usual, unsurprisingly, is debt. See, as humans, we have this innate desire to feel accepted amongst our peers, and that's normal and not inherently problematic, except for when it comes at the expense of our overall well-being, which unfortunately it does a lot of the time. We tend to tell ourselves these stories, both consciously and subconsciously, to justify the decisions we make. Things like, well, I work really hard, so I deserve this. Or when I buy this thing, everybody around me is going to be so impressed and is going to see how successful I am and how accomplished I am. Or perhaps most commonly, having that thing will make me feel so happy. But it never really does, at least not in the long run. At best, you buy something, you get a short dopamine rush that lasts a few days or maybe a few weeks if you're really lucky, and then before you know it, you're back to square one looking for something new to lust over in search of another dopamine hit. This is called the hedonic treadmill because you're basically running for your life, chasing after this feeling of fulfillment, but not actually getting anywhere at all. The more people that I meet and talk to, the more I start to realize how strong the tie is between mental health and financial stability. Personal finance is so much more emotional than we tend to realize. So many people spend money to try to fill a void inside of them or to try to cope with some deep-seated level of unhappiness, and the end result is rarely positive. If this sounds at all familiar to you, I would highly recommend giving therapy a try with BetterHelp, who's also sponsoring this video, because therapy can be an invaluable tool for learning about yourself and learning to understand your mannerisms and your behavior patterns, and learning how to make better decisions that will ultimately lead to you living a happier, healthier life in the long term. BetterHelp is more affordable and more convenient than traditional in-office therapy. All you have to do is click the link in the description box down below, Fill out a quick questionnaire, and BetterHelp will custom match you to one of their licensed therapists, and you can typically get started as quickly as 48 hours. So if you're ready to start taking control of your mental health and living a happier life, head over to betterhelp.com/accordingtonicole or click the link in the description box down below to get started with a special discount on your first month, and thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. We are surrounded by people carrying $2,000 handbags that have no money in them, or people driving $80,000 cars who then flip out when gas goes up 10 cents a liter, or people who line up to spend $1,500 on a phone but can't pay their phone bill each month. It doesn't really make any sense. Personally, I don't want any part of any of that. My 11-year-old car drives me around perfectly well, just as much as a brand new one would. My iPhone 11 does literally every single thing that an iPhone 15 does. These $12 shirts that I get at Old Navy, I like better than anything I could buy from Gucci or whatever other brands. And the end result of me choosing not to spend money on elaborate and unnecessary things is that I could instead take that money and save it and invest it in a way that's actually going to benefit me in the future. Like, an $80,000 car will only be worth $5,000 or maybe $10,000 in 10 years' time. But if instead you buy a $15,000 car and take that other $65,000 and invest it, in 10 years' time, it could be worth $175,000. And I don't know about you guys, but I know which one I'd rather have. To me, being rich doesn't mean going on 4 vacations a year and having an $800 toaster on your kitchen counter. It means having comfort and security and having options. Having the ability to be able to decide how you want to spend your time, and having the luxury to take emergencies and turn them into just mild inconveniences. I'll give you a little story here. A few years ago, I had a small incident. I was leaving the house one day and I went out through the garage, as I often do. And when I hit the button to close the garage door opener came crashing down. It fell off the wall and it caught on the garage door that was kind of half open, half closed at the time. And it scared the hell out of me. Honestly, if it had hit me in the head, it could have really seriously injured me. Thankfully, I was not in the line of fire, but it dented the garage door. The garage door opener was hanging down. It was jammed. I was all freaked out. I didn't know what to do. And I had to call in an emergency service call. And that service call cost me $200. And of course, I can think of way more fun ways to spend $200 than just on a service call for my garage door. But I remember in that moment feeling this overwhelming sense of gratitude to know that I had the $200. Coming up with it on the spot was not going to be a hardship of any sort. It was not going to affect my ability to cover my other bills. And I could take the situation that otherwise could have been very scary and very stressful and just deal with it. You know, a garage door is not something I'm going to personally mess with myself. And so to be able to just call a professional and say, hey, I really need you to come out and take a look at this for me, and to be able to just pay him and deal with it. And I remember in that moment thinking like, wow, this must be what it feels like to be rich, to be able to take this problem and have the money to just deal with it on the spot. Because when I was younger, if we needed a service call or something broke, it was a big deal to have to get it fixed. It was a big deal to come up with that money. And to me, that feeling of being able to just deal with it and know that I'm going to be okay and it's not a huge deal, that is the true feeling of wealth. And I can assure you that it is so much more satisfying than drinking lead-poisoned water out of a Stanley Cup. Now, none of this is to say that you shouldn't spend money on the things that you value. It's just that you should stop and ask yourself if you actually do value these things and why. Is this something that's actually going to bring positivity to your life and genuinely improve the quality of your life? Or is it something that you just want because you saw that everybody else has it, so you should too? Or you think it's going to change other people's impression of who you are and what you've achieved? Something else that I think is often left out of this conversation entirely is the cost of upkeep that comes with a lot of purchases. And I don't just mean the financial cost, but the time and stress factors as well. Like, you get a bigger house and now you have to spend more time cleaning it. Or you get a nicer car, but the cost of parts and labor are through the roof when you need repairs. Or you get some custom high-end furniture and now you're afraid to sit on it or get it dirty. And now all of these things that were supposed to improve the quality of your life have actually done the opposite. They've just given you more things to take care of and worry about and pay for. And then you're left with less time and less ability to even use and enjoy the things because you're spending all of your time taking care of them, or worse, working to pay for them. It often seems to be the case that the people who make the most money have the least money. Like, why are doctors who are high earners known for being notoriously bad with money? Why do a third of lottery winners go broke within 5 years? Why do so many celebrities, like athletes and musicians and actors, people who make hundreds of millions of dollars, wind up declaring bankruptcy? It's because they get caught up living these lifestyles that are so over the top because they think that that's what you're supposed to do when you're in the position that they're in. Like, let's say you go to school and you become a surgeon and you're making $500,000 a year. You're rich, right? Like, that's a ton of money. So what do you do when you have a $500,000 a year salary? You buy all of the things that people with a $500,000 a year salary have. You buy a 5,000 square foot house. You buy a Lamborghini. You start collecting expensive things like, I don't know, designer watches or shoes or purses, I don't know, whatever. You make $500,000 a year. You're supposed to have these things, right? You've earned them. And I mean, yeah, I guess technically you have earned them if that's what you want, if that's what makes you happy. But haven't you also earned the right to not have to work till the day you die just to pay for your mortgage payment on your 5,000 square foot house or your Lamborghini payment? Haven't you also earned the right to be able to kick back and enjoy time with your family? Haven't you earned the right to have a comfortable and dignified retirement one day? And the craziest part is that a lot of the people who are living these lifestyles are not even making a surgeon's salary. They're not making anywhere near $500,000 a year. They're just living like they do. There's this couple I know who are about 20 years older than me, and they're both high earners. They both make more than $100,000 a year, and they bought their house about 15 years before I bought my house for roughly a third of what I paid for mine. Yes, Toronto real estate is crazy. It has more than tripled in the last 15 years. That's besides the point. The point is that they theoretically could have paid off their house a long time ago and been debt-free and living a fantastic life. But they've spent so much money trying to look rich that they're actually drowning. They've maxed out all of their credit cards. They've taken out so many loans against their property that I'm pretty sure that their current mortgage is bigger than it was when they first bought the house 15 years ago. They constantly complain about being stressed out and being broke, but they have 2 brand new cars on their driveway, and memberships to the most expensive premium gym in the area and personal trainers. They have the newest smartphones and smartwatches and all the other gadgets that go along with that. They have top-of-the-line appliances in their kitchen, and they go on an international vacation every single year. Chances are that they will never actually own their home and never be able to retire. But hey, at least their neighbors think they're bougie. On the flip side, I had a friend growing up who lived a few doors down from me and was raised in very much the same situation I was in, and at times arguably worse. His mom was an elementary school teacher who raised him alone after his dad devastated their finances and left. And for a lot of years, they really struggled to make ends meet. But over time, things gradually got better for her. Eventually, she paid off her house and was able to actually take an early retirement in her mid-50s, and then has since actually bought a little vacation home for herself as well, which I think is awesome. So now she's got ultimate freedom. She travels freely between both of her houses. She does whatever she wants with her time, gardening, yoga, volunteering. She has a great quality of life, in my opinion. But to look at her, you would never know her financial situation because, respectfully, I mean this, but she looks poor. Like, her house is all original from the 90s, she drives a Honda Civic, she thrifts furniture, she doesn't even have a data plan on her phone, which to me is a little bit extreme, but on the whole, I think she's winning. The point is that she has a really good quality of life and all of the freedom to do the things that make her happy, but she's not a showy person, and I think it's that exact lifestyle that has allowed her to get to where she is. The richest people that you've ever met are probably people who you had no idea were rich. And the people who look like they have the most probably don't have anywhere near as much as you think. While personally, I'm still very far from any objective measurement of rich. My income has increased every year for the last number of years, but my lifestyle has not really changed much at all. I have little to no interest in upgrading most of the things in my life, and I can say with full honesty that even if my income doubled or even tripled overnight, that wouldn't change. I would still be cooking my own meals, driving my same car, and wearing the same old jeans. I find joy in simplicity and tranquility and freedom. I want to owe nothing to no one and have enough FU money in the bank that I never have to do anything I don't want to do. And I have absolutely no interest in squandering that opportunity just to try to look rich. But hey, as always, that's just my 2 cents, just my opinion, and I would love to know yours in the comment section down below. Are you somebody who cares about being perceived as financially successful? Why or why not? Leave me a comment, let me know. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and hit that like button. Feel free to subscribe if you haven't done so yet. You can follow me on Instagram at according_to_Nicole. Other than that, thank you guys so much as always for watching. Take care, and I will see you next week, hopefully with my mystery fever gone, because I don't know what's going on. Have a good one.